It's Neil here from the Real Neil series, and interviewing people that I've come across in my 50 odd years around the sun, looking to share some value with you guys. And today I've got Darren Reilly.
Good morning all.
And good afternoon if you're listening at night.
True.
No. Darren is a general insurance broker. I think, is that the correct way to describe you?
That is correct. That's what we call
general insurance broker. And how many years for you-ish?
I've been working in the same company now for 30 years and in it for 33.
Okay, beat me. 31 for me.
31?
Yeah.
Wow. So
Darren and I have a bit of history too. We've known each other professionally for a while, but going back to under 12s football.
Yeah.
Back in the days when it was VFL, not even AFL.
That's true.
And we played against each other and then also with each other in a team.
Yeah.
A long time. And then our families have been connected at the same age going through football as well. And
Been interesting.
Been a good journey. So I, as people know, watching from my side of the fence, know that I'm an insurance guy. And but you're an insurance guy. How do you describe the different things that we do?
Yeah, good question. And it is confusing unless you work in the industry. So the way I look at it is we look after people's assets and liabilities. So that could create a financial loss for them. So that's essentially what we're insuring.
Nice. I've got a simple thing because I'm simple. I like simplicity. And I say I do people insurance and general insurance brokers do things insurance.
It's a good way of doing it.
Works for me. Over the years, I know that a lot of general insurance brokers tend to focus on business clients, and I know that it can be harder to insure just the car or just the house or an investment property on its own.
Yeah.
How does that come about? Like, why is that sort of a thing in general insurance?
I think
with brokers.
I think overall it's a matter of how your client book is made up of, and you make a decision early in the piece whether you realise it or not, where you want it to head. And because our business is the maturity it is, we have the grandparents, the parents, and the kids. And the kids are now in their 25s or 30s and starting businesses or families and whatnot. So we've just grown with our existing clients, and that's taken us all around Australia, wherever your clients end up. And some of those do go into businesses, either in a CFO role, in their own business, could be a trade, and then obviously with that they build up their own assets. So we take a view that when we're looking at a client's insurances, we should be looking at all their insurance, so whether it's their business, their liability insurance, and then their personal insurances. So we're not one that says, oh, look, we can't do that. We might give some advice around it. And then obviously we look at premiums, the policy wordings, and how it fits the individuals.
Yeah. And over the time, do you notice, whether it's yourself or general insurance brokers, more broadly, do people specialise in a particular industry or field? Do you want to kind of get known for that, or are you more broad? How does it?
Yeah, there are both type of insurance brokers around. There are those that specialise in certain professions. So that could be a professional indemnity broker, and that's all they do. So that's where they get involved in very technical medical businesses. It could be large engineering companies who are working on minefields, mine sites. So some of those people do go into those, what would you call it, the policies, and specialise in what we would call their professional risks. So that's your directors and officers and professional indemnity for companies. And then within that broking house, you might find that they then have someone who specialises in the asset insurance. So you have two brokers working with you, one for your professional risks, and one for your assets.
Okay. As assets, I've got a building worth $2 million and I run the business within this, and there's risk.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So we can talk to you about what's involved as far as security of the premises. It might be who's the tenant. If it's an office tenant, like your office, we're pretty low touch. We don't cause too many fires or problems. And we also don't have a lot of busy traffic like a shopping centre would.
So that's more risk, more traffic.
Yeah, so that's where your public liability comes in. So we go round and have a look at the premises we're insuring to talk to the clients about what some of the exposures might be.
And do you find that people get a bit of a shock as to things that they're not aware of in their own business? That's it's pretty common for you. It is. You see, well, claims get paid for this.
Yeah, I think the big thing is people are very good at their own business. And that's why we all have professionals. I have an accountant.
Yeah.
I have people who are financial planners, because you need those different skill sets. And I think also those people then go off and to courses and studies to continue. So we go to a range of seminars put on where there's surveyors. So just to talk about slip tests, exactly, for example, for a shopping centre.
Wow.
So I think it's our role is really to go in and talk to clients about what some of the exposures are, and just to be aware of them. You don't necessarily have to do anything as a result of it, but it's important to understand what they might be.
Yeah, and you raised a good point there that I just pick up on, which is that people who are following my series of The Real Deal will understand that it's about exposing you to people who are specialists in what they do, because we can't all be good at everything. And you have to just bring them to your awareness, and because you go down a rabbit hole and get specialised in it, you should be good at what you do. So rather than trying to wing it yourself, and I'm sure there's fine at some stage where you've got a, the first car for the kids might be a little cheapy, and you may not want to insure that with a broker and go full comprehensive. That you make those sort of choices. Yeah. How do you like? I know that when we have discussions, there's a trade-off between an excess and then the premium. And you're sort of you're always like, oh, but should I, could I? And you're looking at that exchange. How do you guide people? What are the things to think about?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the first thing you look at when you're looking at insurance is, how do I get the premium down? It's all too expensive.
Except for life insurance, of course. Darren, everybody wants to have.
Must have that properly.
No.
And the other thing people think is it'll never happen to me. So essentially, so that brings you to a crossroad. If you think it's never going to happen to you, you can carry a higher excess, which will actually bring your premium down.
Yeah.
So when you look at your vehicles, it's a matter of, are the kids going to be driving it? Where are you going to be parking it? All those sort of things, which are the questions that they ask you, whether you're dealing with a broker or an online facility.
Yep.
But I think you've also got to look at the affordability of what happens if you have to pay the excess. Because the longer you're without a car, does it distract the family? Is there a hire car? Until you can afford to pay that excess. So we do see some people taking $2,500 excesses.
Yeah.
But, that's a lot of money.
Stomp up there.
Yeah, that's right, before you can get the car repaired.
Yeah.
Where if you then have a look at someone who might have their office that they own and insure, perhaps there is reason to carry a higher excess on that. Certainly in the professional indemnity world and the directors and officers world, someone such as yourself who's been doing it for a few years, quite often you'll see those people take a slightly higher excess on the basis that it hasn't happened to them before, and you're not expecting 2 or 3 claims in a year for that sort of insurance. Cross fingers. So I think it is about having the discussion about affordability from a premium point of view, but also what excess is reasonable for your own personal finance.
Yeah. I kind of liken it to with income protection insurance. The excess is like the waiting period. Waiting period is the length of time you have to be off work to qualify for an income protection or a sickness and accident claim. And the longer you can say that I'll get by on my own, the lower the premium.
Yes.
So over the journey, I think I saw stats at one stage about 90% of people policies had a 30-day waiting period. But I reckon in the last few years, with premiums going up in income protection throughout Australia, more and more people are having that 90-day waiting period if they've got access to money to get by that extra length of time.
Yeah.
And often you're thinking of, if you've been with an employer for a long time and you've got access to leave that you're going to be able to call on,
True.
or you've got cash in the bank, or cash and maybe not in the bank, but it's an offset against a home loan that you can redraw. And I talk to a lot of people, and they are in they've done their budgeting quite right, and they've got, I've got this emergency money there as a buffer in case I need to call on it. I don't want to, deplete the lot, but I've got a few $1,000s in there that I can get by for a period of time.
Yeah.
Is that similar kind of trade-off?
It is, and I think also we're all our kids leave home at different ages and whatnot, so your cash flows alters.
Yeah.
When obviously the kids move out for a period. I'm sure mum still gives them something here and there. But so all those do come into play, and I think it is about that cash flow, and if you can afford a higher excess, it's a good way to reduce your premiums.
Yeah. When you're starting, when a person comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to look at taking out this insurance on my building," you do your assessment. You say you come and see them. How do you then choose an insurer or a policy? Like what happens behind the scenes? Is it all just plug it into a system, or is it connections and?
It's really interesting. It's a combination of things we do. So I guess because we play in this space every day, we see what insurers are handling claims well at the moment. And sure, you get hiccups with one or two claims, but how quickly can you get them back on track?
Yeah.
And then we see where a particular insurer has fallen off the track well and truly with claims. So we'll move away from recommending them unless they're the only insurer who will insure the risk.
Yeah, right.
And we'll obviously have that discussion with you about this is what we can do, but this is the problem we're having. So our role is to actually, I guess, be your eyes and ears for what's happening in the insurance world, to make those recommendations to you.
Yeah. Is there a software thing that you start with and sort of put in some details and then gives you a short list? Yeah,
there is. There's a couple of software systems out there now where we can put in the information and it will provide the terms. Yeah. The wordings are reasonably similar in that. Okay. But from there, at least we've got a really good starting point. And then we can drill down into whatever it may be. Certainly when there's occupations that are a little bit more difficult, where they might have a higher fire exposure, you need to see what the requirements of the insurer are. Some of those can simply be, how high is the racking? Is it above 3 meters high? Is it close to the lighting in case a bulb bursts? Everything catches light. So they're the reasons we go out and have a look at premises, and then we can make a proper recommendation. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Do most general insurance brokers, you don't have to talk about yourself, but do most general insurance brokers get paid by commission, or do you charge fees, or is it a combination of both? Like, how does it work these days?
At the moment, it's still a combination of both fee and commission. Should be disclosed anyway. Yeah. But it is a combination at the moment that most do receive their income from.
Yeah. And for those that have got policies and have had them for a while and stuff like that, what's a good review cycle? Like, how often should people be tapping in and tuning in and sticking their hand up and saying, I kind of remember what I got, but not really?
Utopia is every 12 months, but we're all busy and we know that actually doesn't happen. But I would suggest at least every 2 years, if you are working with a broker, get the broker to come out, or spend a lot of time, I guess, with Zoom these days, or those type of meetings. We're finding we're doing a lot more of those, but really have a discussion, because the broker needs to know not what your business is doing now, but what are your future plans? Right. What are you doing in 12 months' time, 5 years' time, especially if you're in manufacturing. These days, your product could end up anywhere in the world.
Yeah, right. Because the insurance is 12 months down the track. You're taking out the policy now or renewing the policy now for the next 12 months. So what's going to happen? Yeah, have a think about that.
And probably the biggest gap we see is in the business interruption, because people think exactly like that. The turnover of my business last 12 months was X, but again, the policy is going to pay from the day you have a fire, which could be 11 months away. So have you got a high enough sum insured? So is your turnover really where it should be in 2 years' time?
Yeah, right. If you're on a bit of a growth path, then start forward planning for
or where that might be. So you really should have a look at it. And I think using a broker is important, just to bring different questions to the table for you, to make you think about your business from an insurance perspective. You're very good at running it and operating it, and you know what you're doing. It's for us to raise the questions, just to have an hour or 2 hours where you think about the what ifs.
Good call. And I know from 30 years in insurance, and you know from 30 years in insurance, that it's claims where it matters most.
Sure.
Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper with some words on it.
Yes.
It's claim time. What can people expect a general broker to do for them versus go online and buy your insurance, that sort of way? Like, how do you get involved?
Look, with claims, it is the important part of our job, because we are giving you a bit of paper that essentially says, trust me, this will work. So we need to know about it straight away. Most brokers will ask you to deal with the broker initially. Saturday, Sunday, that's our job. We want to know what's happening. In most cases, I find it's more the client just wants to be reassured that they're covered, and this will be the process. Could be a car accident. If it's to do with water coming into your house, into your business, we're probably able to get some people out there reasonably quickly with blowers, just to try to reduce the damage, and your home contents or your business contents. I think from there, what we normally do is we will then have, most brokers will have a claims team to manage the claim with you. And obviously then you have the insurer and invariably an assessor to work through the claim. So really it doesn't matter what it is. It should be, first point of contact should be your broker to touch base and just run through what needs to happen either today or in the coming days of the claim. So
certainly does help. I find that people contact me for claims as well, that I can step them through the process of what to expect. And you can sort of hear the relief. And I've had nice messages back from people that have helped claims with saying, my husband thought it was great that he could talk to you. You know him, you know his policy better than we do. And like, he got off the phone and went, okay, I think Neil's got it. It's relief at the top, particularly for us where it's sickness and accident related.
Absolutely.
But with you guys, it's dealing with a lot of people's major assets and interruption to daily life or business life.
And it is important just to give you peace of mind that things are going to be okay. Work through the process. Some of them are lengthy processes. If we have a look at the hail damage, hailstorms we had last year, those repairs are being penciled in to go for 2.5 years from the date of the hailstorm. And that has to do with, we don't have enough tradies, we can't get supplies, but you need to be able to talk people through what's going on out there. So, and it is people's, as you say, people's biggest asset, and it's fear. And if it's your business, you want to be able to speak to all your staff to say, okay, we might have had a major loss, but you're okay. You're going to get paid because obviously they've got to put food on the table. So it's peace of mind for everyone involved. With
is it hailstorm and natural disaster? Is that what that sort of is?
It is.
So with natural disasters or worldwide events that sort of have gone on in different countries, I understand that like the Australian insurers would reinsure with global reinsurers. So something that happens around the world, it does flow on to affect us. And like I've heard you and others talk about a harder market to place business at times, or it's a softer market. The insurers are getting a bit more comfy and the premiums are coming down rather than going up. This real flow on effect with everything in the world.
It is. And we are just such a global business these days, as most people are. So the biggest problem we have, if you picture yourself sitting in London with a big swag of money, call yourself a reinsurer, and you've got all these places knocking on your door saying, can you invest $100 million here? If you have a look at the east coast of Australia, and you don't really know a lot about it sitting over there, but you see cyclones, hail, fire, flooding.
You had them all last year.
And you're going to say, there are other places I can invest my money.
Right.
Or if I am going to invest it there, I'm going to charge those insurers a lot more.
Right.
to carry that risk.
Yeah.
And that's effectively the problem we have at the moment, and for all types of insurance, whether it's business or house and contents.
Yeah.
Some places are more difficult to insure up north, obviously where the cyclones are.
Yep.
But it is that global issue we have at the moment where the people who want to, or our insurers needed to invest in them, are saying, well, you don't have a really good track record at the moment. So it is becoming more difficult for insurers to source reinsurance.
Yeah, okay, that's a good explanation. I knew there was an impact, I just didn't know where how it all came together. Are there any sort of, over the years, common mistakes? Are there war stories, things that sort of, I could say about, you should see all the people that just do this, and then at the claim time, they're disappointed. Is there anything that sort of springs to mind about common mistakes that people might go, that could be me?
Yeah. Look, there's a couple of things, and some of them are very basic things that are easy mistakes to make. And they're not mistakes, but just oversights. And the simple ones are when you purchase jewelry or items you take away from the home. It could be an expensive camera, right? Those sort of items, laptops. Does your policy automatically cover them away from the home?
How about a guitar?
Well, especially your guitars.
Yeah, don't tell Ange.
So it's making sure that the items you do have are covered away from the home. And again, these are the ways that people in the past have reduced their premium by not taking the cover. And then as we get a little bit older and we do start to buy different things, has the policy changed with us? So always worthwhile to call your insurer. The old saying of read your policy wording, good luck, written by lawyers in plain English. I'd call the insurer or your broker just to make sure that these new items you're buying are covered.
So you potentially do that as you buy, like don't wait for the policy renewal, just spend a bit of money on something and just want to know if or how it might be.
Yeah, that's right. And it could be something as simple as a diamond gets knocked on a dining table when you're out at a restaurant and the diamond comes out.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with the piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
But just the angle it was knocked on. So well worth doing those things.
I suppose for business owners, that's a similar sort of thing. Buying new things through the year and I'll get around to it at renewal, or does business cover work a bit differently?
Yeah, look, I still think it's worthwhile. Make the phone call, especially if you're adding new items.
Yeah.
If you're in a cabinet making business and you buy a new machine, some of those are $100,000, $150,000. Is your sum insured suitable? Just make a quick phone call. The other problem we see is, and this is a trap for everyone, signing contracts without getting your solicitor to have a look at them. Are you taking on responsibilities that you can't insure for?
Contracts meaning a contract to supply your goods to somebody?
Yeah, it could be supplying your goods to somebody. And secondly, if you're a trade, signing contracts to get on site. Yeah. So sometimes what we see the concreter or the installer of the kitchens are signing contracts because they want the work. But what they're actually doing is taking on the other party's responsibilities for injury, and your insurance won't respond to that. Your policy will cover you, the injuries or property damage you cause, but not what's caused by another party. So well worthwhile either reading through them yourself or getting a solicitor to have a look at them.
Because lots of contractors connected with other contractors, and there might be a head person has the job, but then how does everybody else?
Yeah, how does it all link in? And what you normally find is some of them try to push that down the line.
Right.
But you can sign the contract, but it doesn't mean your policy will respond under your public liability.
Yeah, beautiful. Very cool, mate. That's sort of exhausted my little list of
excellent
things we might have chatted about. Is there any closing comments on general insurance brokers?
Look, don't be afraid of insurance. It is there. It is the one that will save you financially.
And there's a disaster or something happens, it actually is us coming with a check.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. So, but as I say, feel free to speak to your insurer, speak to your broker. never be afraid to ask a question. You're better off knowing the answer before it happens than getting the wrong answer after it happens.
Yeah, you betcha.
Terrific.
And I'm pretty happy with myself that I didn't just call you Dasher during the thing. I thought I'd lapse into football terminologies and nicknames.
You've done very well.
Yeah, done very well. Darren Reilly has been my guest today from IOOF, and yeah, I hope you got some value there around what does general insurance brokers do,
Yeah.
and where could I go if I wanted to find a good one. So see you next time on the Real Neil series. Bye all.
See you, Neil.